All right, we're going to get started. I think we've straightened out most of our technical difficulties. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming on a Thursday evening. I know all of you have a lot of other things that you need to be doing, so we do appreciate your time and your ability to be here. My name is Fred Cusero. I'm the Community Recreation Director for the City of Coral Gables. So we will be having a little presentation, and we'll get started with that. Before I do that, we do have a few more people from the city that I want to introduce. We have our mayor, Mayor Lagos, here. Our Vice Mayor Anderson, is here. Dina Bell, who is our Green Space Management Director, so she'll handle all the trees and green stuff. Carolina Vester is the Deputy Director of the Department of Community Recreation. And over trying to hide in the back, we have our capital improvements. We have our project manager, Liz Ferrer, and we have our capital improvements director, Jose Oliveros. So they're the ones that are working with the architect and us to get this project going. So what we're going to do, and for everyone on Zoom, thank you for coming in as well. The process will be, we'll have the presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll have the ability for all of you to ask questions. And if you're on Zoom, you can utilize the chat function to ask questions too. And the Q&A function, my apologies, the Q&A function. And at that point, we'll be able to answer everybody's questions. So we're going to start off with a little introduction on it. We do have the architect of the conceptual design is here, and they will make a presentation of the two designs for the two different areas.
I'll just run the button. That's okay.
It's not happening. One more technical difficulty, our apologies. Okay. All right, so quick information, as I described, it is an in-person and it's a hybrid meeting with the people that have joined us on Zoom. It will be recorded. We will have this meeting on our city webpage. As I talked about, we'll have the opportunity following the presentation for questions. We do have a community input period on our park projects website, and it'll have this presentation, and it also has the ability for anyone to come in. If they didn't make this meeting, you could tell your friends and neighbors that they could go on to parkprojects.com. They can look at it and they can make the comments, and we will take them all through until the end of through Monday, May 15th. So up until then, any comments and input that we receive will be taken through that website at parkprojects@coralgables.com. It's right there on the bottom. So I'm going to turn this over now to Carolina, who is in my department. She's the history guru and does all the history. She spent a lot of time working at Venetian Pools, so she got really well versed in it. So I'm going to call her up so she can go over the next couple of slides on all the history of the neighborhood that we're in.
Does the mic here work or no? All right, just a brief history we always like to include before we do any designs on parks. We want to make sure we research the park, research the history, how it affects the community. And obviously, I think for the residents here today, you know there's a lot of rich history in that community. So the two parks are home to the Golden Gate subdivision, which is bounded by US 1, North, Coconut Grove on the east, Lejeune Road on the west, and Grant Avenue on the south. Historically, the Golden Gate subdivision, together with the McFarland homestead, were part of the first pioneer villages and families who settled there in the early 1900s, including the Ramsey, Hopkins, Williams, Gibson, Wild Goose, Cooper, Tucker, and more families. Some of the area's notably early settlers included land developers such as Stirrup, George Allen, Ms. Frances S. Tucker, a longtime educator, and of course, Nellie B. Moore, for which one of the parks is named. Yeah. As part of the presentation, we also wanted to share with you that very recently at one of the commission meetings, we did have several renamings. One of those was the renaming of Cooper Park. So we adopted that on Tuesday, March 12th, to include Leona Cooper as part of the Cooper Park name. So now William A. Cooper Park, which is located on 4920 Washington Drive, the new adopted name is going to be William and Leona Cooper Park. And that is something that the mayor set forth together with the family and the commission as a whole adopted. So we're very excited to rename that as part of the project. And of course, when we do the unveiling, hopefully very soon of the park, when it's all built and done, that'll be on the marker as well. A little history about Miss Cooper. Leona Cooper was born in Nassau, Bahamas in 1932, and she migrated to South Florida as a teenager. Leona's passing in 2022 was preceded in death by her husband, William Cooper, of 58 years. Upon her graduation from Miami Booker T. Washington High School, she began an over 40-year career in medical technology, retiring in 2002 from the Miami Veterans Administration Medical Center as a supervisory microbiologist. In the early 1990s, the Coopers formed the Lola B. Walker Homeowners Association and mobilized community support to save Black Gables. She is a lifelong Roman Catholic, and she founded in 1986 the San Martin, the San Martin de Porres Association, and in 1999, Cooper was invested as a lady in the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. In 1992, she was presented with a Pro Ecclesia Eponifi award from John Paul II. So that's just a little bit of history on Leona and why, of course, she is very important to the naming of that park. All right, you want to take it back over here?
Yeah, so as you can see, these are the two projects that we're working on here. And it's we're looking at, as you look at Cooper Park, obviously one of the challenges of this park, which make it different than a lot of other parks, is kind of the geography of it. It's two properties that almost intersect, and it's two squares, well, one square and a rectangle, as you can see, and it's kind of diagonal. And the park kind of weaves through both sites. That's for Cooper Park. And it's 5 different folios that we're going to unify as one. And then we're going to, and that'll be what you see there within the green with the yellow lines is what we're going to look at for improvements. The other park is Nellie B. Moore Park. So you can see where that one is. That one's obviously over, when you look at the grand scope of the design, it's over to the east of Cooper Park. But we've always looked at them as kind of partners. And when we're looking at developing things in the neighborhood and the ability of that Nellie B. Moore being close, we can add, features at Nellie B. Moore that maybe we would like to add at Cooper, but we can't because of the size. The size of Cooper, because you're almost bisecting the park in terms of its size of the 2 different lots. So you can do things, kind of limits some of the stuff that you can put in there. But when we have Nellie B. Moore, maybe we can add some more features. So as you can see from the overhead and what the neighborhood is, yes, we do have those 2 parks, and they're right down a walk down Jefferson Drive, and then you can see both. So what we're trying to do is we're going to be looking at, and you'll see the design in a second, is have some of the active components at Cooper and have a smaller active component at Nellie B. Moore. So here are some of the views. All of you in the neighborhood are familiar with these. This is the north views on the top, the south view, Cooper Park, and the east and the west views. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Juncal. Did I say it right? Close. Juncal. Juncal from Miller Leg, who did the design, and he's going to show you the concepts and the conceptual designs of both parks.
All right. Thank you, Fred. All right. Glad to be here. Grateful for this opportunity to try and present something here for you guys in this park design. Thank you. So first thing we wanted to do when we were looking at this space was to look at the community and take, what we were gathering from the community and incorporate that into the design. And what we came out with were cogs, basically as a system that kind of works together. We know there's a diverse background of people that live in the community, but everybody works together to improve the community and improve our lives. And this is just one of those components. Thank you. So this is just an overall of Cooper Park. And you can see here that what we did was take the cogs, which are a round type of feature, and how those were working together in the conceptual inspirational image to create this park. And we still keep that concept with these round circles and how they kind of circulate through the park and around the different elements that we're proposing here. This is an overall, it gives a list of some of the different components that we're providing and proposing. We have shade sails on the northern portion. That's going to be for, the park was actually separated into 2 age groups. So we have 2 to 5-year-olds and then 5 to 12. And we want to separate those because you don't want larger kids trampling the smaller ones. So the northern portion is going to be geared towards a smaller age group. We'll have swing and some different components that will make it enjoyable for that age group. And then on the other southern portion is going to be for the larger age group, as well as more of like a passive park to walk around. We have a tree on site with the circular bench that we're proposing. And we also want to make sure that we're keeping the current monument stone there in the design. So here, this would be the 5 to 12-year-old age group. What we're proposing is the Volo structure. You can see how there are several components that are part of that one place structure. One of the more important ones is shade with the shade sails, but there's slides, climbing functions, rope functions. So it's very versatile, all in one little spot. Some of the other elements that we'll be proposing are benches, bike racks, fixing stations for the bikes, trash receptacles, and flexipay walkways, just for comfort of walking. This is another image of the Volo, and you can see some of the more of the play components up close. So you can see how diverse it is with the climbing, different types of climbing. There's rope elements, there are net elements, different slides and climbing, as well as just shade, which is important. There's also, as you can see here, this would function for the different age groups and also ADA. So anybody who's not able to climb and run and play, they can still interact with the rest of the kids without having to put themselves in a dangerous position. So for the smaller play area, the 2 to 5-year-old, we wanted to make sure that we have a mom made me swing, which basically allows a parent to swing with the child, which is it's been a request and something that's been successful on several other projects. And then we also wanted to incorporate some non-traditional play equipment, so we were moving away from your typical slides and play stuff. And in this case, the play mound, what you're looking at, is just a small little mound that the kids play on. They have a great time running on them, jumping on them, rolling off of them. And we've had success on other projects with them. So we wanted to bring that here to this park. In addition to that, making sure we incorporated shade systems as well so that this can be used year round. And again, with the swing system, making sure that we have ADA compliance and everybody is included and thought of in this design. When it comes to the landscape, we're looking at using native plant material that is native to the area, because what it does is, it reports back to the history of the site. What's native here is also used to the conditions. So once it gets established, that's going to make not only for a beautiful and lush landscape, but it's going to keep down maintenance by not having to water all the time. And a lot of this plant material is going to be pest and disease resistant because they're from here. This is just a cross section to give you an idea of what the park would look like, starting from the southwest going to the northeast. Just cuts through the park. So you can see on the left side of the section, that would be the circular bench that kind of goes around the tree. And then we have the monument in the middle there, some more walkways, and then eventually you would get to the play element. And this is another overall look. And some of the other items that we are doing on this part. So along 42nd Lejeune Avenue, the goal is to extend that wall and provide a gate for security reasons. This is going to be a park that we want to make sure is secure and safe. A lot of the dots you see around, those are actually boulders that are going to help create the landscape areas, but also provide seating. So you can have a nice resting spot under the shade of trees. And we'll be providing a fence around the park as well. These are just views on Moore Park now. So these are the existing conditions that are out there. This is from the west side view, and then one of the existing sign. For Moore Park, the idea was to make it more of like a passive area, kind of come in and go. There's no large play components. And these 3 stations here are going to be exercise stations. They're going to be multi-use exercise stations. We are planning on providing a couple of benches and tables, as well as boulders for seating, and then obviously enhancing the landscape, keeping everything low for safety reasons. We want to have low shrubs and plant material. That way there's no obstructions, and kind of natural safety built-in feature by having the residents being able to see in and through the park. Again, some of the components here, we have the benches, picnic tables, the bike fixing stations, as well as the bike racks, trash receptacles. And here are some of the exercise equipment that we're proposing. The walkway will be of the flexi-pave material, and the surface around the play equipment will be flexi-safe pads. So that way there's no rough, hard concrete. Again, same plant palette. That way we're being consistent between the 2 parks. And again, taking advantage of our native plant material that are used to the climate, weather, and insects and such here. And a final overview of Moore Park. So I'll hand it back over to you, Fred.
So as we discussed, there are a lot of features that are going in. The FlexiPave, for if anyone doesn't know what a FlexiPave is, it's more of it's a soft-based walkway. We have it in a few of our parks. It's spongier. It's not as hard as concrete. It's usually a darker color, so it works with the landscaping. And if you are ever in the north end of the city, Lisbon Park was the first one that we used for it, and it's worked out great with it. And we're having several more that have used it. Some of the other things that we wanted to touch on a little bit more: fitness equipment. We've done that at just small composite stations. We've done it on a bigger scale around the youth center, but we've done it at a small park. We've done it at Ingram Park. If you're ever at Ingram Park, which is right there near the Circle, near Sunset and Lejeune, it's a small circle that has a few stations. So it's kind of the same scale that you'd look at for the equipment. It's the equipment that we use throughout the city. It's really good equipment. It's the type that you use your own body weight to get a workout. It's propulsive. It's not like a static piece of equipment. You could, you move yourself by benching or leg pressing or whatever the machine is. Our play components, just to reiterate, the 5 to 12, it's for more adventurous. It isn't the biggest, most broadest. We don't have a lot of room there, but based on what we found when just talking to people as we've gone through, and especially when we went through the Pierce Park issue, was some of the things that are important are swings, which is why we added the swing component, having slide and climbing for the children that are a little older. So that's why we put those 2 components. And that's why we worked with the playground manufacturers to look at things that would give us as much play value as we can get. Perimeter fencing, I don't know if we talked about it. We will have a new park signage there, obviously, for the new name. And we're going to work with the family on that to see how we want to do that, and what type, if we want to keep it the same way that it is now, or if we want to do something different, we'll look at it. So here's the estimated budget. We're looking at, for the entire project, it's 1.25 million. The estimated design budget is 100,000. The estimated construction budget is 1.1 million. We have currently right now funded 650,000, which is why we've gone through the design. We're getting more money in this next fiscal year process that comes in September. And then our plan is to look at phasing it. We want to take care of Cooper first, get all that done, and then have the phasing in of Nellie B. Moore as we go through the next year and get the additional funding. Okay. I think that's it. Quick on the timeline. We're here. We're, depending on what the feedback we get, we might have to do a follow-up meeting. Then if we have to make changes, we'll make those changes. We'll share them with you again. We got all your contact information. We'll make sure that we share it with you. And then what we'll do is we go in through the whole process, which is design, permitting, procurement, and then we start working on the construction. So it's from now, hopefully we can move quickly through the first process for 9 months, and then we can start into construction. Both phases would be an additional 8 to 10 months. We try to get that park, the first park, done much quicker than that. So with that, we are going to take questions. And then after we take questions from the guests that are with us, then we'll go to the Zoom. Does anyone have a question for me? Yes.
Although the dynamic has changed in the Golden Gate. I don't need a microphone.
Yeah.
I'm really loud. Oh, okay. Good evening, people on Zoom and everyone else. Although the dynamic of the family has changed in the Golden Gates. We live right across the street from Nellie B. Moore Park. It's not even across the street. My question is, why would you load that park with exercise equipment, which is fine, but we have a big park right there on Bristol Park. It has everything out there. It's a wide open space. Nellie B. Moore Park has, it's like in a quaint space. It's changing. And I know change is inevitable, but it changes what a small neighborhood should be like. It's not, most of the neighbors go to work out in gyms. Most of us have gym memberships. So why put that equipment out there?
So one of the things that we were looking at is when we talk to people, and yes, as we talk to people and our staff talk to people, we did see that the neighborhood is changing. We saw the new people that have gone into the neighborhood. One of the things that the first part of it was, even though Armbruster's there and it has a big playground as well, is they wanted something for the neighborhood that isn't, because Armbruster's visited by not only that neighborhood, it's visited by people in all other neighborhoods because it's bigger and has access. So they wanted something for them. In terms of the exercise equipment, what we're focusing on is what we've seen is there's a lot more walkers that are always out walking around in all of our neighborhoods. And what we found and what as our user group has gotten more of that type of fitness, that those stations are great for the walkers. And that's why there's not 100 of them in that part. It's only like, we're just doing 3. So as you're doing your walk, you can walk right through the park. You can hit those and keep going. It's really not for the big gym workout type participant. That's what we were thinking of, is looking at a connection. Because if you have both parks and you have commuters, I mean, not commuters, if you have pedestrians that are walking around, that's just a feature for them there. That was our thought process.
So what about the families, those families that enjoy just sitting out in the park, relaxing? Are there going to be benches out there? The 2 great big
Yes.
oaks that are out there?
Yes.
Are they going to stay there?
Yes.
Or, and as for the, you said you were going to change there will be no more grass?
There will be glass. So if we can go back to it, it's not a huge intrusion of the park. It's just in the middle. You're still going to have the grass. The reason why we did it that way is also to keep those trees intact. It's really going to be, we wanted to keep it as passive as possible. It's not like a playground because those machines, those aren't machines that somebody's going to be on them for 10, 20, 30 minutes. You get in there, you do your 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you do your work, you go to the next one. We have them in similar places and you don't find that people sit there. It's not the same type of activity like a playground is or an athletic field. So if you look at it, there's quite a bit of greenery that's left. You have you have all of the trees there. And also what we wanted to do is we wanted to add seating. So if you can tell, we've got picnic tables, so you can have your picnics there with the family. Those are the 2 big squares. And then you have more seating there. And then some of these boulders, and we do boulder seating in some other parks. They double as they're a little smoother on the top. You can sit on them as well. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose that component. We made it not as active as the Cooper side would be. And we're welcome to look at adding some more seating areas if you want. We can put them on either end and add some more seating and maybe a couple of more places that are with more trees and more grass there. We can go there.
I have a concern more than anything else. We're right next to Carver, middle and
Yep.
elementary. Has anybody gone to survey that area during school time when the kids are either going to school or getting out of school? Have you seen the traffic patterns? Have you seen the kids that come into the park and stay around the park? I just think that this might be a great invitation for people to start doing more loitering in the area than anything else. I think we're making it very comfortable. All these benches and another thing is I've been in my house, I think I'm directly across the street right on Jefferson Drive. And I think I've been there 40 something years. I don't know. When we first moved there, the park had a sprinkler system. There were lights in the park. That sprinkler system has not worked ever. It used to be a hassle trying to get regular maintenance on the grounds itself. The trees were not properly maintained. Now you're talking about putting additional shrubbery in there. Is there additional commitment to the actual upkeep of something like this?
So
So
something
those
that-
are my concerns.
Yeah.
You can answer the school part, but I'll answer the maintenance part.
Yeah, sure. So not as fancy than we didn't talk about in the presentation, but as part of all our renovations, some components that we include in any renovation design, and I think answering your security concern is we're going to make sure there's cameras, we're going to make sure there's landscape lighting, and we're going to make sure there's irrigation. As far as the school, I actually have my daughter that goes to Carver. I know exactly the traffic that happens there because I'm stuck in the traffic in the mornings. Luckily not a pickup because she gets bused. But I think this is a conversation we've had with the architects and internally with Public Works, is also looking at when that construction happens, working together with the school, making sure it's done at a time that we're trying to limit the impact on the community. So hopefully hitting the summertime when we get to that point where there's no impact to the school year and no impact to the residents. So our goal is to try to make it as smooth as possible. And we want to work directly with the neighbors because we know how hard that impact is. And there's no space to back up traffic, especially if there's construction going on. Yeah. The daily commute or the day? Well, I think, yeah. Yeah, so.
I defer to her because one of her children goes there.
Yeah.
So, she knows.
I do not live in the area. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But you're saying, have you seen it? Have you gone
Yeah.
by? But
Yeah.
She has gone by many times to pick up.
I think the pickup is not the issue. It's not the drop off, it's the pickup, right? So when the kids come out, especially of the middle school, they might be hanging out around a little bit. I think that's something we can work with the school as well. Again, we will have surveillance equipment there, we'll have cameras, but I don't think is the concern that school children are going to be hanging around or is going to be inviting others to hang in the park? Okay, all right. So that's something we'll look at.
In terms of the maintenance, yeah, the infrastructure is an issue. That's one of the things that we're going to attack with this project in terms of the irrigation. A few years ago, so our city we had a certain way of maintaining different parks, and the parks that were active, like the bigger ones, the playgrounds were the ones that our department took. And then there was a contracted company that handled some of the smaller ones. I would say it's probably been about 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, before COVID. Right. So before COVID, we took over those two. And if you live there, I'm sure you've met Kenny Larkin. If you haven't, he's usually around. He tells me he talks to a lot of people in the neighborhood. Hopefully he does talk to you. If he doesn't, and I got to tell him, what are you telling me? You're not telling me the truth. So we have it's one of the, we have a crew, and it's at one of the parks that it's in our rotation. So we'll continue to have the maintenance care of it. The improvements are what's going to help us when you have the new infrastructure of the irrigation, and you have all of the new landscape and everything. Then we could start there, and we can get that going, and our crew will be ready to go. Yes.
Hi, thank you. I am thrilled about the playground, as I emailed Mayor Lago years ago when I first had my son, who's now 4, about a playground in the neighborhood. However, my question is similar, but about maintenance, because we often like to go to the newly renovated Pierce Park. However, sometimes it is filled with trash. And I want to know, like, will Cooper Park maintain, cleanliness all the time? Like, are they going to come by regularly, multiple times a day, to keep it
So-
clean and nice? So,
Yes, we do have, it will be scheduled. I will not tell you something that Pierce Park hasn't been a challenge. Pierce Park has been a challenge, not because of our maintenance schedules, but there's been some vandalism there, and there's a lot of stuff that we've dealt with. We have the cameras in there now. We have police that is involved with our staff to make sure that we're good. So we've seen a downturn in some of the issues that we have there, but we're still working on those. It's not necessarily a go by and clean it twice a day and it'll be fine. Pierce Park is a little bit more extreme, and we've been dealing with those issues, and we've gotten some other things working with police. So hopefully those will get better. But it will be scheduled, as all of our city parks are. We'll have the pickups. We have what we call our rangers, that we have 4 of them that we have on staff, and then they go around. And then we also have a couple of full-time guys that go around on the weekends and go well. So we'll have it'll be picking up the garbage. It'll be emptying the trash cans. And then of course our regular crews will be stationed there usually once every 2 weeks to do the major maintenance, all the inspections and the playgrounds and all that stuff. So that's our hope. Yeah, sure.
Well, just very brief. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us today. And this is a long time coming. One of the things that I think, if I may speak for the vice mayor, myself, and my colleagues who are not here, I think one of the things that we have to come to an understanding is that we're not all going to get what we want. But I think that this is something that will benefit the community in one form or another. In regards to the issue of trash, the vice mayor and I have been working on, and with staff who deserves all the credit. We've really pushed for the cameras, for example, in North Gables, to address issues of illegal dumping. I was with staff this week, walking the neighborhood, and we've seen a huge drop in the amount of illegal dumping that we have after we've added the cameras. So when you talk about these parks that are going to be newly renovated, I really think that when you add these cameras and people become more aware that there's somebody watching and that we're going to take action, I think you see a lot of that dumping and a lot of that garbage and issues that we see, like graffiti, really get curbed. But on another point, and this is where I'll end my comment, what we really need, if we can get your help, and we have this issue in my neighborhood. I'm in front of University of Miami, so there's a lot of people that drive in my neighborhood, a lot. I have the University of Miami, I have St. Augustine Church, I have Riviera Country Club, I have Le Lenar Center, that I mentioned, and I have Doctors Hospital, all within 3 blocks from my house. And I'm surrounded by 57th Avenue and also US 1. So we have a lot of people driving in our neighborhood, just like you guys do, a lot of people. The more active and proactive that we are in regards to calling, I know every single person in this room contacts myself, the staff, the manager, Rhonda, the vice mayor, if you could just continue to tell us, listen, we have an area, we have an issue here in this park. This is what's going on. You all have our emails. You can get in contact with us, and we will address the issue of maybe we need more maintenance in that park. Maybe we need to clean it instead of X amount of times a year. Maybe it needs to be cleaned more. And once the community comes into the position where they start telling us what's happening in their neighborhood more often, we can make those changes to maintenance, because we have an amazing team here at the city, and they work incredibly hard on behalf of the residents and to make the commission look great, but they deserve all the credit as always. So I just wanted to say thank you for allowing us the privilege to be here. This is a long time coming, as you've mentioned. All of you, every single person here, I'm not going to go name by name by name. All of you played a major role in making this a possibility. And this is a priority, not only for myself, but this is a priority for this commission. This community deserves to be front and center. I can't even remember the last time where I was in that neighborhood and we revitalized that park with private money along with St. Mary's Baptist Church. And we did a lot of good things in the neighborhood. But this is a time to put something incredible in your neighborhood that you're happy with, that you want to happen. So if we need to have as many public meetings as you want, we're more than willing to have these public meetings to have a conversation, because this is your neighborhood. It's not what I want, it's what you want. So thank you for allowing me the privilege to be here. Thank you, sir.
Going to use, and also what's to keep people from continuing to water their dogs in those parks?
So
And the school traffic, as most of us say, I'm happy about the park, but how are you gonna keep others out of there? And the kids, the younger kids are playing in the parks now. The dogs will be going in there, their owners take them for walks, and there's that park.
right.
I also know about where the water faucet was, because I live right in that neighborhood. What's to stop the kids from being able to go into Lejeune Road?
So that's one of the reasons why we do the fencing is whenever you do a playground, you do have to have the fencing for safety reasons. It's a mandate. The fencing that we do, our city standard fencing is it's a 4-foot fence, and it is it's a picket aluminum style fence, 3.5 inches. So you can't stick your head in through or get stuck. It's not a hazard. And there's limestone pillars that, do we have any? Okay. We have, so it's a limestone pillar and then aluminum fence. That's our standard that we have in all of our parks. It's decorative, it's nice, but it is a good hardscape to keep people in and out. Now the dogs, that's something that we deal with all the time.
We have the doggy boxes stationed there,
You have,
but people still go in the park.
correct. So what we'll have here is we'll have signage that, like we have a similar sized park over here in the northern section. And if what we want to do is not have dogs in there, we can have signage that says no dogs allowed. And if it becomes an issue, then that's where our rangers are alerted and we alert code enforcement. The signage, if you say no dogs allowed, that signage has been pretty effective. Other signage which says you can walk your dog, but keep him on a leash. Sometimes that one, it has worked, sometimes it doesn't. But if it's a no pets allowed area, then that seems to work better. And you can always put the dog station at the walkway on the sidewalk outside of the fence.
And I know there are 2 large trees there, and the roots are so large. There's an oak tree, a mango tree, and another tree that orchids have been planted into the trees. And they make the biggest mess. And I know they said, don't touch the trees.
Yeah, we're not
They
going to
cover
touch
the
the trees.
drains,
Yeah.
and we keep the drains uncovered with the leaves. What are you gonna do about all those roots?
Well, we're
they're
gonna
uprooting the
we're
sidewalks.
programming around them. I do have our tree expert here with the city, but yeah, we can't move them, as you know. We're not going to touch the trees. We're not going to do that. But that's when you look at things are strategically placed where if you have like a big giant square of stuff and you only see, how come we only use this little bit? Because we're strategically using it to not get into the root structures and do the activity away from that portion of it. That's what we do. We run into it at every park design because we don't move the trees. So we end up having to program around them and make sure that the roots don't get involved and that the activities are away from that. But in terms of the drainage, we'll look at that. Because if that's an issue you're having now, that could be an opportunity for us to improve it and move the drain.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
looks, you know, I see it every day and the sidewalks are continually being pushed up. I walk through there with my walker when I want to walk with the walker. And I'm almost tripping with the way the roots from the
Right.
trees.
They're
Love
pushing it
trees,
up.
But
Yeah,
I'm just letting you know that may be an issue
it is.
with the trees that Ms. Anderson
Oh, I know.
loves
Yeah.
and protects.
So one of the things that we also, the flexi pave is a lot more forgiving for that. It doesn't pop it up. So, because it's more of a porous material, so it'll just
It's a
nestle in
safety
through it
hazard.
under. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I actually have several questions for you. I actually live directly behind the park adjacent to the June Road. Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
To the June Road. You spoke in regards to extending the wall further down the June Road side. It's been brought to my attention that that wall actually belongs to my property. And how are you guys going to connect to that wall extending south on the June Road? That's the first question.
Okay. We'll look at the folios. We'll have to with the wall.
So yeah, the wall just kind of stopped short at the moment. So what the idea is in terms of the park and creating safety, we want to extend that wall so that we can actually provide a gate there. And that way it encloses the whole space for safety reasons.
Right. With that being said, you said that the wall is going to be extended. Is it going to be extended at the same height? Because you said that you're going to be using a 4 feet requirement chain link fence and that actually
No.
extends over 4 feet.
Yeah, no, we won't use chain link. It's an aluminum, but I understand what you're saying. We'll if we can get your information and talk to you about that and look at what we're going to do with the wall, because if it's part of your property, we have to work with you. And we've done that before. We might have to increase the height and increase it at all of it. So make sure that we have your information and that so we can talk further with you about that because we do that with adjoining neighbors to make sure that those are taken care of.
Okay, I actually had a couple more questions. for
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
The vice president wants to speak. Okay, sure.
No, no, it's because Mayor and I have to go to another event. But we do want your comments and they're going to keep a full record of them, including about the roots. There might be just erosion that can be filled in and address it because we certainly don't want anybody tripping. Okay, but thank you. Keep making the comments so we can take notes and take care of the problems.
There's one more thing I want to put on the record also. Several of the residents here are complaining about the trash that is being left out at the parks. Like I said, I reside directly behind that park and several times within your contractor, I believe you guys use an SFM, and in between their process of cutting, I literally have myself to have to go out there and clean it because that trash is blowing into my yard.
Right.
So there is a vagrant homeless situation that takes place after dark.
Okay.
Every day. But outside of that, also, you guys were saying, is there any plans for any sidewalk improvements adjacent to that area? Like, I appreciate you guys saying that you guys want to put that neighborhood at the forefront because we've been kind of, I
sure.
would say somewhat neglected for several years. Because I would say, if you actually go out to that neighborhood, and I tried to speak with someone on behalf of Gables, and there has been zero information given to me about resurfacing that area. I
Of the
understand
sidewalk.
beautification is a big thing in Coral Gables, which I'm all for, but that area is almost down to the original cobblestone. I mean, we have several potholes that I've called and spoke with on behalf with Mayor Largo, and he had someone come out. But to be around a prominent school as Carver is, there are several sidewalks that are not even safe to walk on outside of that area.
And
adjacent to that
you
area.
spoke with someone from the city on that already?
I actually sent I sent a massive email and Mayor Lago forwarded it to one of your public works guys or whatnot, but that was several months
Yeah.
ago. So
Let us follow up on that. In terms of anything outside of the park
I
scope,
understand.
but in terms of the walkways within the park and the sidewalk that surrounds it, the adjacent on the property, yeah, we're going to handle all that. That's going to be part of it. But the city has a sidewalk plan, and they have, I don't know who you talk to, but
That's my issue. I actually, like I said, I work for a town myself, so I
Yeah.
understand the process. I
Sure.
literally was trying to reach out to someone to see if they have a site oversight where they, they survey
Right.
the conditions of the roadway within Coral Gables itself. And unfortunately, I, have never received the answer. And that's a problem because if you, like I said, the amount of traffic, as everyone
Yeah.
knows here, the amount of traffic that flows from Carver
Mhm.
on a daily basis is
Yep.
a heavy, traffic area.
Sure.
Those roads should have been at one of the first, roads to be repaired. And unfortunately, nothing has even come
Okay.
to it.
Well, we're taking the notes. Let's make sure we get your information because we'll set you up with the right person. We have a roadways person and we have a sidewalk person. I don't know if you talked to either one of them, but we will definitely touch base with them and get them out there.
I'll give you my information.
One question I had for you, you said that the people that were working on the park were SFM?
Excuse me?
You said the people that were working on the park were the SFM people?
Well, from my understanding, you guys had several contractors that you
We
guys used
did,
over
we
time.
used to, but now it's my city crew that should be out there. I don't know.
Well, my issue with that also, like I said, I live in the cul-de-sac there. I had to
Okay.
bring to your attention that several months that you guys, you discontinued my service in front of my cul-de-sac for
Oh.
several months.
Okay.
And I
Now-
took on myself
Yes,
to take over
yes.
that
No,
situation.
I got you. Okay, yes, now we do
So I
we
believe we
recall
may
that.
have remember our
And
conversations.
they're doing that now, right? And we took care of it. We're doing it now. So we didn't
I
know
really
because it was the
appreciate it.
cul-de-sac, right?
And my thing is also, you were saying signage is going to be put out.
Yeah.
But we're one of, I can say maybe one of the only communities in Coral Gables where we don't even have stop bars to go coincide with the stop signs. We
Right.
don't have any delineators. We don't have any yellow striping.
Right.
We barely have, the stop signs are in bad conditions and things of that sort. So my thing is with the parks being beautifying the area,
Yep.
is anything else going to take care of the community itself that we can say we feel that, that we're happy what's taking place within our community? Because like you said,
Well,
it's
those
about the
are great.
It's about the residents.
Yeah,
so.
those are good questions. I unfortunately, I can only answer what I can do in the park. You will have signage in the park and you will have nice signage and you will have a nice plaque. I mean, you have one there now. We're going to make stuff nice, but usually when we do these park community meetings, we do get questions and other concerns about roads, sidewalks. We do funnel them to the right people. I wish I could tell you that I personally would take care of it, but from the signage perspective of the park, yeah, we'll handle. But if you're having those issues, he's going to give you his information and he's going to get it to his boss who's in charge of the streets and that. Okay.
So every time we come, we bring up the same issue, but nothing being done. So if we bring it up again and he takes it, is it gonna take another 6 months for us to have another conversation
no.
and then maybe somebody will take care of it?
And you're right. And I understand that frustration. The only thing I can do is I can tell you we're working on the park and that's what we're here to present. I wish I can give you assurances and promises on the streets, but I don't have the ability to do that. And I'm not, it would be disingenuous of me to say, yeah, I'm going to take care of that for you because I don't work on the streets. What I can tell you is we're working on the park and we're going to make sure that we do what the community wants for the parks. Any more questions here or do we have some on Zoom? Yeah.
So we have a question. How will the artificial turf drain? Does it absorb falls? I'm assuming by the playground. And is there absorbing material below the play structure?
So yes, and yes. That is quickly become our standard surfacing for all of our parks. It is called playground. It's called Forever Lawn. It's a playground grass. It's safety attenuated. We have it. The biggest example of it is if you ever pass by Salvador Park, which is the largest piece of artificial turf for playground safety that we have. But it drains well. It is not a solid. It's porous. It goes through. And there is a base layer underneath as well. And it is, there's only a few different types of playground safety equipment, safety surfacing you can have. There's sand, which we've gone away from over time. The engineered wood fiber, we've gone away from over time because those two are very hard for ADA. They don't really meet the ADA unless they're perfectly level all the time, which as soon as somebody steps in it, that goes away. And so then you have the hard rubber poured in place surfacing, and you have the artificial grass. The artificial grass works well when you have components like we do, which has the shades over the swings and it has the shade over the playground. So we have tended to use that, and most of the communities have asked us to use that. It's a lot cleaner. It looks good, and it's the safest that we've seen.
Okay, several of the components of the two parks will require maintenance. An example, walkways, shade awnings, ropes, etc. Please address how the city will ensure what the components are well maintained and inspected regularly for safety. I know we briefly spoke about it.
Yeah, we do. We have work crews. We got an additional work crew. Usually when things are pointed out to us, we try. I know the mayor had spoken about it, and Pierce Park was against when Mr. Prime had pointed out some things for us. We were able to get some people on cameras. We were able to work on that. So there will be a schedule. There will be on that schedule with newer equipment and newer walkways and newer landscaping. It helps. We were able to be a lot more efficient, and that's what has happened in all of our other parks. So we're going to continue and put it on the schedule, and it'll be city staff and won't be contracted staff.
Okay, another question. What are the benches made of? The current ones are rotting and filled with ants.
That's why we want to replace those benches, and we're going to. The benches are a recycled plastic poly product that is. We also have them all over the city. It's all of our parks. That's one of our standards that we do.
Next question. Will the flexi-paved material be part of the surrounding border, which is currently paved? So I'm assuming it's around the park.
And Nellie, be more?
The question is, will flexi-pave be material for surrounding border, which is currently paved?
Yeah, so the existing walkway will go away. What we're looking at is in the design, that is the walkway that you'll have.
Okay, so the next one. If you don't allow pets in the parks, where are residents supposed to walk our pets? I recommend having a pet area in one of the parks. We don't have sidewalks in our community. Also, do we as a community have a choice in getting the workout equipment removed from the design? I see no value and agree with the other residents that we use the park for sitting.
Well, so we can, if you don't have the no dog sign, you will have dogs. And you will have dogs that will be off leash. We've seen it. I'd like you to rely on my professional experience here. That's what happens. If that's okay, we can do that and not have no dog sign. In terms of the fitness equipment, our history with working with the community is we give the community what they want. If you don't want the exercise equipment and you don't want to put anything in that park, it reduces the budget. It reduces the time frame. I mean, it becomes a different proposition for us, and that's fine. We're okay with whatever the community likes.
Next one. Separating the play areas by age is good. However, it will be hard for family members or caregivers to supervise children of different ages in separate areas. What will the sight lines be like?
I mean, there will be a sight line, but in any playground configuration, unless it's a very small area, you do have separation. You want to do separation for safety. I have parks where the separation is all the way across the other park. Sunrise on the north side is one age, and on the south side is another age. And one of the safety issues, you have to clearly delineate that it's the two ages because for safety issues. But there, as you can see from the design, you're going to have a walkway, and there's a tree overhead on one side, but it's the actual makeup of the park kind of limits that sight line. You can't, there's only a small avenue connecting the two lots. So that's just the footprint that we have to work with.
Okay, the next question. While you are not representing the city with concerns of signage and sidewalks, can a meeting with those people be scheduled so that all concerns, even long-term, are addressed?
My suggestion is, there is a meeting that we're going to go to, the Lullaby Walkers. If you guys are there, or invite, you can invite the streets guys, the public works director, and he can come. I mean, I think we're going to come and show this too. So by all means, that would be the best way to do it, is request their presence. They'll come. Just ask them.
Next comment. How was Cooper Park chosen to have the playground equipment? Were the immediate surrounding residents' opinions asked about this or taken into consideration?
We have received commentary dating back to when we first were at that park, as the mayor referred to, the first cleanup that we did when we were there, when we've been there for the namings, or we've been there for other things. There was also input that was received by, not our current vice mayor, but our previous vice mayor, who was really active in securing the funding for this project, which was Mr. Mena. And what we were told is, a playground for us, not the Arbor, something for the community, something smaller, but. And I also took the feedback that I got for Pierce Park is, there's got to be some active components there. It can't just be something that kids don't want to play on, something that's got some activity. And then there's also what we know in the industry, and based on what we get community input all over the city, is, there's certain things that are attractive to children, and that doesn't go away. And that's swings and slides and that kind of thing.
Okay. Can there be a fenced pet area incorporated into one of the park designs?
I mean, if you want to do that with Nellie B. Moore and take out the fitness, I mean, whatever. So they're on Zoom. You can't see the crowd. There seems to be a resounding no to that fenced-in dog proponent. Community at work. I love it.
Next comment. We agree on repavement. Construction will harm the current street and sidewalks and side greens. FPL is working now and it's already a mess. Can we be sure any harm to the zone will be fixed as part of the project? So I'm thinking it's the construction coming in to do the project. Anything they break will fix, I'm assuming is what they're asking.
Yeah, we have contingencies and we have conditions that those builders have to meet. And if they damage things, just like they do in any project, they have to fix it.
Next question. To ensure these parks are for this community, will there still be no parking signs surrounding the parks?
We can place any signs that you like. That's really for the community to decide. I don't have an opinion either way. If you want no parking signs, we will make sure that that's part of the plan. Absolutely.
Will updated parks have posted closure times scheduled?
Yes. Usually our parks are, so yeah, dusk to dawn, dusk till dawn. I've been speaking too much today.
Okay, next question. What is the walkway material made of? Previous generations of that soft material were made of tires and they were discovered to have environmental and/or chemical issues.
Yes, they're not made of tires. It's a rubber composite that's manufactured. There's been a lot of advancements made in technology from that, and that's also for playground surfacing. Playground surfacing used to be tires as well, and they got rid of that as well. I don't have the exact product specifications of it, but it is not the same. The surfacing of all different grounds goes through ASTM testing, and you can't do it because you can't use tires anymore.
Okay, I appreciate the city's attention to our neighborhood and would love for us to keep the playground equipment, if possible, in Cooper Park for children in the neighborhood. What are the other options for more park, if not the exercise equipment?
Well, based on what I'm getting, if there's no exercise equipment, I'm hearing passive open park. Yeah. I'm hearing passive open park, so it would be walkways and seating. I didn't get an impetus for a dog area, so it would be just seating and walkways and open spaces and picnic and grass.
These parks are in such close proximity
Mhm.
to one another.
Yep.
And they seem to be carrying some of the same equipment. Is it not possible to have some of that equipment in one park and not the other? So that you don't have. if I'm
Right.
gonna
But when you say the same, that's what I'm saying. When you say the same equipment, I don't think either. I think they're both, these two are one. So these aren't separate. And the Nellie B. Moore doesn't have anything that those have other than the bench and the picnic table. That's the only difference, right?
But isn't there some kind of exercise equipment proposed at Nellie B. Moore?
Yeah, there's no exercise equipment here at Cooper. It's only at Nellie B. Moore.
There's none here.
There's none here. There's none at Cooper.
Put it all in Cooper.
You want you to put the exercise equipment in Cooper as well with all the playground stuff? It's a little, that's a little tight. It would be hard to do. I wish I could, but it wouldn't fit. Remember, even though it looks like you have space here, there's trees and there's roots and there's other things that you have to worry about. It's like we said, if we want to go away from the exercise equipment, we can keep it open, passive, and just fix it up, landscape it, and put the walkways. That's up to the community. I personally like this stuff, but it's not, I don't live there. So it's up to you guys. Okay. Well, it's a good thing we have the architect here. We can look at it. There's a possibility. To me, when I look at it, it doesn't look like, and based when I've been out there, it doesn't look like there's enough space, but I could be wrong. But then you have to look at is one machine, adding one, is that good enough? Or, is it just adding one to add one? Maybe if you do two, if you can get all three, then yeah.
If I may, I think the advantage of using more park versus trying to cram, say, one, again, to Fred's point, having the three different components, the idea is somebody just kind of walking through passively could go to each station. You have three different pieces of equipment that have multi-use, and then you're kind of on your way. We could probably get one piece of equipment in here, but that really wouldn't, it would be more of a waste of money than actually getting any use out of it.
On the design, how will the final be determined? Will the residents get to vote?
We will not have necessarily a vote. A vote is very hard to conduct. What we will do is we'll take all of the comments that we get here, that we've gotten through the chat, that we will get on the website, and whatever the consensus is, we will do the change in design. We will share with everyone that's put their contact information, and we'll get it to you. And we'll have another period of input, and then we'll be able to move forward. It's hard to do a vote because, who the person that's not here today versus the other, we're able to do it on the website, and we're able to give everybody a chance, and then we're able to get everybody's opinion. What I found in my experience is it's very difficult with a vote. There's some people that don't want to do a vote. They don't want to be, bullied into making a decision that they don't want to make here. They like to do it either in writing or anything else. So, and we understand that. So we'll just take what the consensus is. I will say, I have yet to do a project where I get 100-0 in the vote of something, but we're going to go with majority consensus, and we'll go from there.
This project sounds like a word of mouth project that came about during another event, and that it was brought to the immediate surrounding residents. I live in front of Cooper Park, and my opinion was never asked. So once again, were the immediate surrounding residents asked their opinions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, not a problem. Okay. It's basically coinciding with that question there. Traditionally, how long have you guys been in this park, I guess, situation? How long has it already been in process? Because I remember several years ago when I was younger.
Yep.
I'm a Gibson, I'm a third
Right.
generation in that neighborhood. And I remember these conversations with you guys were planning on putting gazebos and swing sets and things of that sort. Now, like I stated, I'm 40 plus years old now.
Yeah, right.
So how long traditionally does your process of, I guess, deciding on whether this park project is going to go into place?
So the most important part of that decision-making is you need to have the funding.
Funding, I understand.
So once the funding was determined, and there was a lot of requests that were done to our elected officials, to the mayor. There was once the funding's determined, we look at what the needs are, we propose, and we have a master plan that we did for the entire city that looks at what the core components are for neighborhood parks, and this meets that. But we don't just go and build it. That's why we're here. We're here to look at and have the discussion and see what do we want to do there. I hope we want to do something and have a nice park and have a nice area. I think Pierce, the design came out great, so that should be kind of an example of what we're able to do and what it looks like. So that's what we're hopeful of.
With that being said, what ballpark figure number would you give me? As in, when did this process start of evaluating if when Cooper Park was going to be, this project was going to move forward?
So I need a little bit more of a
Okay,
a-
you got
a more
when did
exact question.
When did funding become available for this project to take place?
Well, the funding came probably about 18 months ago. It had actually been funded in the plan probably a year or two before, but the capital plan is a 5-year plan. So it was slotted, so it was planned, and then now the monies have come in. So then once we got it, we were able to start the design.
That's, with that being said, like I stated, this project, when the neighborhood was giving the opportunity to speak in regards to what was going to take place in these parks, I was a child myself. So that's where the issue was coming with my fellow neighbors in my neighborhood. They weren't giving the opportunity to voice their opinion on what's taking place there now, because it has to be a fair opportunity for them to voice their opinions on what they're going to be. The resident that live there now aren't the residents that
Right.
lived there 30 years ago. My
But-
father is no longer here. My
Right.
mother is no longer with us in this situation.
Well,
So when you guys said.
but
that
that's
you
why we're
guys-
here. In
No,
my
no, I
opinion.
understand, I
That's
understand,
what
but what-
we're here to get your input.
Right, right.
You know, we don't attack a park project any different. What we do is we look at, based on our master plan, based on our concepts for what we do, we propose a design. Then we bring it to you. You don't like it. We've had instances where people love our designs. We move on to the next one. We've had instances where we've had to pull the whole curtain back and start all over. So, but that's why we do it. Instead of saying, yeah, we're just going to build it because this is what we think we know to build. This is a part of the process. This is where the neighborhood gets to tell us what they want. And if they don't like what we have, you know, we do need a little bit of just, you know, we do a lot of these parks, so we kind of know, you know, we have equipment, we know what patterns are, we know what usage is. So that's why we come up with that conceptual design to look at, this is how we start. Now, if it's not something the neighborhood wants,
It's not that it's not what the neighborhood wants. It's just that the neighbors within the area, we are somewhat in our emotions a little bit because we feel we've been neglected for so long.
Right.
We are the outside looked in part of Coral Gables. And if you go around those neighborhoods, those blocks, you can see, like I said, that was 40 years ago.
Sure.
There, like you said, there's 5-year process. There should have been somewhere down the line that said that, you know, we've overlooked this neighborhood for so long that these parks projects should have took place where my kids were able to utilize it. And here I am now, a grandfather, and now I'm going to be able to tell my granddaughter to actually utilize these parks. That's my major issue, is that our neighborhood for so long, the Lola B. Walker and the Golden Gates, have been neglected for so many years for so many different projects. We've been overlooked.
Right.
And when we're presented with the opportunity for this park, which trust me, we're gracious. We will, I mean, it's nothing more than having a beautiful park within your neighborhood. But our issue is that we have several other issues that I have to come here to this situation to speak on.
I
You
understand.
understand? And we have to seize every opportunity to voice our opinions to whoever needs to hear it. So results will come to be for
Yep.
my granddaughter, instead of, you know, for
I
she
get it.
can enjoy the Coral Gables that everyone else around Coral Gables enjoys. You understand what I'm saying?
Understood.
Okay.
But that's why we're bringing it to you. I mean, it's not a cheap park, as you saw. We're spending money. So we're trying to bring something to the community. That's what we're trying to do.
Next question. Will the pet cleanup stations go away at the parks?
do you want, I mean, does the community want them to go away? The pet waste stations, do you want to keep them there or you want to take them away? My only concern is if you take them away, the people start throwing the dog poop in the swales. That's been I have dog waste stations. I probably have like 250 throughout the city. And if, and usually people want them more than not want them because it eliminates people, it gives people a place to put their dog poop. So it's up to the community. We can, if you want to give us that feedback of as we go through the designs to get rid of them, we can. Or they can stay on the exterior like we talked about.
I think you should find a place for the dog stations. We have people that come from the other side, other communities, walk their dogs. We have poop on the sidewalk,
Yep.
poop in the street. And you can talk to these people and say, there's the dog station right there. Everything you needed there will be taken care of.
Yep.
If you remove them, then we'll be back on the sidewalks and everywhere else again.
Agreed.
I think they should control people coming from the other area walking their dogs.
Sure.
And this is a personal comment.
Yeah.
Okay, from a lady that's 78 years old.
Yep.
That was born in that spot,
Mhm.
right in Golden Gates.
Right.
My personal feeling is that these parks are being designed for the people coming in to the community,
Mhm.
not for the ones that have been there all this time. So I think that that's where a lot of the sentiment is coming. That's where my sentiment is coming from. I live directly and I look out of my front door, my bedroom window,
Mhm.
right into Nellie B. Moore Park.
Okay.
I knew Mrs. Moore. I know the Coopers. I know everybody in the neighborhood. I don't know the new people that are coming into the neighborhood. All I know is that when I was a little girl coming up, that nothing ever happened in that park. There was no swing, there was no slide,
Right.
there was nothing. When they finally put grass there and then put a sprinkler system, the sprinkler system stopped working. No one ever came to fix it. So from a personal standpoint, no, I don't want that stuff in that park anymore. I want to be able to look out and see nice green grass, but that's my personal feeling.
Mhm.
Now, I know that there are people moving into the park. I know that you have to look to the future, but I feel like I've been neglected for so long that you're really not preparing this park for the people that have been there forever. You're really preparing it for the people that are now coming into the park. And that's just my personal view. And thank you for listening.
No, I understand. And look, we do get a chance to hear your comments. And like you said, you had an opposition to the fitness equipment. If everybody else does, like I said, we're just here to serve the community. We're here to serve you. And I wish I can speak for people 40 years ago dealing with that park. I've only been in for 20.
For me to do a current survey as to
Yeah.
what we would like in that park.
Yeah.
Ask the people in the area.
Yeah.
What would you like to see in the park, Matt? My desire for the park now is certainly different than it would be had you asked me 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Any others?
Yes. The play structures have a modern design. Are there other site furnishings options that would match them better?
I don't know. Benches and picnic tables, matching blue playground stuff. It's difficult. I mean, I'm sure there is something out there. I don't know if it would be something that would be preferred by the community.
Can one of the play areas be moved to more?
I think based on the feedback we've gotten is we're not going to do that. Sorry.
No exercise equipment, please. They are a hazard for the small children.
Understood. We're listening.
While we appreciate the naming of the parks, can one of the benches be posted with a memory of all residents that have passed who were originally and longstanding members of the community?
Yeah, but we got to look at that. We'd have to see what that, I mean, we have a memorial bench program, but I think it's hard to fit everybody's name on one bench. It's usually just one plaque. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do there. We would have to look at it. We really haven't done that at other parks, but it doesn't mean we can't do that here if that's what's really wanted by committee. Yeah, it is. But I think what they wanted is like a bench that's got everybody's name on it, which would be difficult to do. Yep.
Show pretty much the, you know, the orientation of what took place in those areas. You guys have those large.
We
banners,
do.
those
You're going to have one for the park naming and the history of the people that we're naming the park for. I don't know. Maybe that's something that you put in like a stone plaque at Nellie B. Moore instead of the fitness equipment. All right, let's write that down. Sometimes I get lucky.
I have a question. You
Sure.
did mention that the park no longer uses the rubber that made with tires.
Right.
But now you're talking about artificial turf. But now there are a lot of studies coming out now saying those artificial turfs aren't good.
Artificial turfs, the old rubber infill, which was the tires, is not what's good. So now this one that we have, it's a special interwoven fiber, and it's tested. Make sure it's anti-static, and we make sure it's antibacterial. So there has been a lot of advances in it. But yes, there was. Now you also have, you know, the concern of PAFs, which is for every single thing that's produced outside of artificial turf. It can be anything.
So there's no option of using real grass versus
No,
the artificial.
so if you do a playground or swing, real grass is not allowed because you need to have impact surfacing that at the very least is averts death if someone were to fall from a certain height. So you can't do grass.
So another one of the concerns I would like to have for the park itself, since it's going to be a aged kid-friendly park, are you guys going to be any digging and pertaining to arson and things of that sort? Because I know you guys are putting artificial turf, which they did on Bristol Park, but there were, you know, many years ago there was, you know, what we call the incinerator there. So what are you guys going to do to do the soil sampling? I know you guys in the process are going to be doing that also, but is there any plans on dig like you did Merry Christmas Park or how they did on Douglas Road on several other parks? Or are you guys just going to throw artificial turf and only dig a certain depth? What is your plans on that?
So the parks they're referring to are not core Gables parks, but in our industry, we're very familiar with projects that have been like that had a remediation component because there was contamination. That's something we can look at. We do normally always test our projects. Now, it is our understanding that there's no threat of contamination in those two lots, but that's something we can share with our Public Works office if we need to do any testing. If there is some kind of contamination, there's an entire remediation process that we would do to make sure that it's safe, especially because it would be for children. Absolutely.
The next comment is one of the participants would like to say, I want to say thank you to Mr. Gibson. You voiced my exact feelings and thoughts. The next one is, I want to keep the pet waste stations. I just didn't see them in the design. Next comment is, am I correct that the city spent $100,000 to plan the park without getting community feedback?
That's a hole on the design for all of them. Yes, most design costs are a portion of what the full project is.
And the residents were polled asking for monument art designs for these parks. I submitted artists for a mural, but did not see it incorporated into the design.
We would need a little more information on that. I'm not sure what monuments or art is referring to and what polling was done.
Residents were polled asking for monument or art designs for these parks.
It might have been through our historic department, so they would work on that. I'm not sure where we are with that. If she can send us a separate email, we can follow that up because that doesn't ring a bell.
And that's it for the
Okay, so
online comments.
to wrap up, as we said, this is what we're here for. It's to get the input. You know, so I want to make sure that you understand that it's not that we're not building this park yet. That's why we're talking to you first. And we will take back, we're getting some strong sentiment on what we're going to do in Nellie B. Moore. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board, take those fitness things out, and maybe have something of more passive design there, more open spaces, and have it be grass and nice trees and flowers. And we'll have Dina help us with that. Do we have any other comments or questions? I do appreciate everyone being here. I know it's getting late, but we do need, by all means, remember the Parks Project at coralgables.com. If you have stuff that you forget when you drive home, write it down, get it to us. We do have experience, and there are examples of park designs where we started with the conceptual like we always do, and we got the community input and things change. And the park ends up looking different, and that's fine. And it looks like we're going to do that with Nellie B. Moore. So does anybody have anything else? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And please write us if you have any other ideas.